My name is Tara Reddy and I'm the co-founder and CEO of Loveshark. Loveshark is a game studio that makes camera games. That's games for your mobile phone that you play in the camera. And while you play, you can create little videos that you can share with your friends. We've made 2 games so far. Laser Draw, which was like an augmented reality Pictionary where you move your phone through the air to draw and your friend has to guess what it is.
Oh, orange.
And the second one was Dance.io, where you dance in the camera and get scored according to how well you're dancing. We're just about to release our third game called Mochi, which will be a much bigger dance game platform. So look out for that one soon on mobile. So the game industry is one of those industries that's actually huge, but people don't quite realize how big it is. So for 2020, it's estimated to be about $160 billion of value. And to put it into perspective, the game industry is bigger than the music industry and the film industry combined. So it's really massive and it's growing very, very fast. So in the old days, it used to all be about, buying a game from the store and taking it home and plugging it into your console. But these days, the business models are changing in games. So you can get the free-to-play model, which makes money off ads. So an example would be something like Helix Jump on mobile. You download it for free and then you get shown ads, and that's how that game company makes some money off you. And then there's things like freemium. So Fortnite is a really good example of that. It's a free game. You don't pay to download it or to play, but you pay to unlock special items in the game. And then the third main business model is premium. So it means you pay to download the game. So an example would be Animal Crossing. You pay to download that game on Switch, and then you can play as much as you like with no more purchases in the game. And then there's a lot of games that sort of mix the multiple types of model together as well. So you might find that there's free games that have ads and in-app purchases as well, or premium games that you pay for, but then they actually have some additional purchases inside. And some companies are moving into subscriptions now as well. So you can actually have some sort of subscription in the game where you keep getting items, on a regular basis. So to take a game to market, there can be quite a few steps. I think sometimes it can be tempting to think, oh my God, my game idea is so good, I'm just gonna make it and people are gonna love it. But a lot of the time it doesn't actually work because not everyone has the same taste as you. So the first thing you should do is make a paper prototype. So if possible, see if there's a way that you can build your game without having to do any code. So an obvious example would be if you were making a noughts and crosses game, you could get people to play that on paper very well. Or let's look at a game like Among Us. So you guys probably would have heard of Among Us on mobile and PC, and it's a game where there's 10 people in a room and 1 or 2 of them are the imposter, and you have to find out who the imposter is before they go around and kill everyone. You could play that in real life. You could get 10 people together in a room, and then you could secretly tell 2 of them that they're the imposter, and then they have to go around the room, tapping people on the shoulder to kill them. And you could see, do people have fun playing that game? What are the problems they encounter? What are the things that they don't understand? And then by the time, if after then you think, okay, this game actually seems really fun and the participants enjoyed it, then by the time you go to start maybe writing some code to make it into a game, you've already learned a lot of things about what people want, what they like, what they don't like about that specific type of game. So, the first step is paper prototyping. And then the next step would be to make a very small prototype of the game you want to build. So don't go and build a whole, 20 level game. Maybe just build 1 level and test that out on people and see what areas they struggle with, where are the areas where they find magic, where's the real fun in it. And that will mean that you can build the next 19 levels with much more knowledge. It could be to, build the game and release it. Or you might decide to maybe do a soft launch. So maybe you release the game only to a small number of players, or maybe only in, one country instead of going, worldwide, and you look and see what the response is there and see if there are any tweaks or changes that you need to make before you go and release to a much bigger audience. And then once you release, it's always really good to keep checking on what are people actually doing day to day, and is that changing over time, or do different players have different needs? So a good way to check on that is by looking at the data analytics in the game. So if you imagine a mobile game like Candy Crush, for example, they know if players go in and get to level 3 and then leave and never come back again, or if they find that there's some players that do that, some players who keep playing until level 500, because they use a thing called data analytics. So they know every tap that you do on the screen. They don't know it's you. They don't know it's it's Joe that's tapping the screen, but they know that user 1508 is their behavior is to play until they lose a game and then they bounce. Or they might find that other players, behavior is to keep playing even when they hit a wall, and that's when they start spending on gems. So they can take all of this analytics, and if you think about the fact that they have millions and millions of players, that gives them a really rich understanding of what people are doing inside the game, what motivates them, what puts them off. It allows them to segment their players into different types. So maybe they'll have players who spend a lot of money because they always want to win, and then they'll have players who maybe don't spend a lot of money but will watch a lot of ads to get things, or they'll have players who are completionists, so they want to get 3 stars on every single level. And those 3 types of players might have really different needs and motivations. So potentially they can target those players differently, or they can actually present the game slightly differently to those players to keep them playing for longer. So for Loveshark, when we test games before we release them, we do quite a few different types of testing. So there's user experience testing, which is, do people understand what this app is about, and do they know how to navigate through it and how to play a game? There is play testing, where you get people to play the game and you analyse, are they having fun, which areas are challenging to them, which areas are easy for them, which areas feel like a magic moment, so a really happy, positive, fun moment. And playtesting really looks at the level of fun in the game. And then we also look at we also do user interviews. So that would be looking at who our target audience are, and then talking to them about what do they do in their everyday life, what TV shows are they watching, what music do they listen to, what are their interests, what are their hobbies, what other types of apps do they use. And it allows us to build a bigger picture of them and potentially tailor the game and themes that interest them. So a game engine is basically a piece of software that enables a developer to build a game without having to come up with all the technology themselves for the game. So a game engine enables the physics and the movement and the 3D orientation of the game in space. The most popular game engines are Unity and Unreal. So most games that you play will be built in one of those 2 engines. And the most common programming languages are C++ and C#. So it's more and more common these days for game makers to think about diversity and inclusion in their games. So from a diversity standpoint, we know that more and more different types of audience like to play games. So, grandmas like to play games, people's mums like to play games, your little brother and your little sister like to play games. And in the past, a lot of game publishers really focused on teenage boys as their main audience, but actually that's just a small part of the game world. So now we're starting to build for lots of different types of audience, which is great, because everyone deserves to play and have fun. And then when it comes to accessibility, that's definitely a trend in game makers where they're trying to improve the design of their games so that they're accessible for more people. So some examples would be a game like Two Dots, which is all about connecting coloured dots on the screen. They introduced a colourblind mode because what they found was that colourblind people couldn't always differentiate the different colours of the dots from the background. So by introducing colourblind mode, it meant that colourblind people could play as well. And some other examples of accessibility in games is text-to-speech. So actually, not just having captions that come up at the bottom of the game, but actually, reading them out so that people who are visually impaired can really interact and understand the game fully. And some other examples would be things like, charities like Special Effect, who they actually make custom hardware, like things like joysticks and controllers, to allow people with, certain types of disabilities to engage with games and to play just like anyone else.